This episode of the Ageless and Awesome podcast is sponsored by the Radiant Reset Hormone Detox Guide for Perimenopausal Women. As a woman in the modern world, our hormones are taking a battering. They're impacted by the food we eat, the toxins we're exposed to, such as when we eat out of plastic takeaway containers, or even worse, reheat food in them. Please don't do this. If you're handling FPOS receipts, filling the car with fuel, eating non-organic produce that hasn't been washed effectively, plus so much more things add to our toxic load every day. Even though our bodies are designed to effectively manage toxins, they haven't evolved as quickly as our toxic world has, unfortunately. So our body does need support. Symptoms such as stubborn weight gain, fatigue, disrupted periods, irritability, and gut health issues can be a sign that you'd benefit from a gentle detox. And that's why I developed the Radiant Reset Hormone Detox Guide for Perimenopausal Women. This free guide has an abundance of information to get you started on your very own DIY detox. And if you'd like to upgrade to VIP, it's only $47 for a limited time. I used to sell this program for $247. The upgrade gives you the recipes, including plenty of plant-based options, the meal planner, the shopping list template, the video workshop, and so much more. Click the link in the show notes to learn more now. Take care of your hormones. They are a critical part of your health as a woman. Hi, I'm Susie Garden, and this is the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm an age-defying naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I'm here to bust myths around women's health and aging so that you can be ageless and awesome in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The Ageless and Awesome podcast is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with great health, a positive mindset, and outrageous confidence. Hit subscribe or follow now, and let's get started. Hello, gorgeous one, and welcome to Q&A Thursday with me, Susie. And today I'm not really addressing a question. I actually get asked this question all of the time. It's a question about HRT, or the new terminology is MHT, Menopause Hormone Therapy. And I usually don't talk about it because it is in many respects outside of my scope of practice. I am currently a clinical nutritionist and naturopath. I have had a very long history in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm was a registered nurse, have a degree in nursing. And so while I have a lot of knowledge, it's not technically my place to be talking about HRT, but I'm just going to talk today about my personal opinion because I get asked this question all the time. And if you're working with me in a client relationship, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But just generally, through the podcast, I don't talk a lot about it, and for the reasons I've just said. And so today, because I've been asked this question so many times over and over, I'm really just going to talk to you, and this is my opinion, all right? And I will preface this by saying also that any decisions you want to make about any type of therapy, any type of prescription medication needs to be made in conjunction with your trusted doctor, and not by getting information off the internet, not from getting information off podcasts, just between you and your doctor. But of course, you want to make sure that your doctor is someone that has a special interest in menopause, because I have to say, based on the experience of many of my clients, there seems to be a real lack of, I'm going to say, willingness. I'm also going to say education with many doctors on menopause hormone therapy, or MHT. And I'm not sure why this is. I mean, I think there's very little education given about menopause, mainly because it's a natural part of a woman's life cycle. It's not a medical condition. So I don't feel like there's a great sense of urgency to treat, in inverted commas, menopause. However, I have to say, having gone through all of this myself, I had no idea how debilitating the symptoms would be until I started experiencing them myself. My memory of what I thought hot flushes were before I started experiencing them was I seem to have this memory. I don't know. God, I'm aging myself now. If it's the Golden Girls or something that I was watching probably as a teenager, but I remember many TV shows sort of showing this experience of a hot flush was a woman standing in front of a refrigerator and fanning themselves. And I don't know whether you have had that same experience or that's kind of what you know about a hot flash. But to me, it was just kind of fun and funny and not a big deal. Like you get a bit hot and then it's over, right? But if you've ever experienced them, sometimes you can get palpitations prior to them. You can get a sense of anxiety prior to them. They can wake you up in the middle of the night. You can be drenched with sweat. I remember teaching yoga classes probably about 6 years ago now, maybe a bit longer, and actually having like sweat just running down my body, soaking my yoga top. And I'm be thinking, oh my God, I hope my students can't see this. And it's really distracting as well. And, you know, if you're a corporate woman stuck in a meeting and you're trying to get these layers of clothing off because you feel like you're going to explode. You feel like you've been locked in a sauna, but it's your body and you can't get away from it. It's really actually can be quite distressing, if not just annoying. So, you know, and that's not it. Like, it's not even, I think the worst symptom is probably more things like the brain fog and the fatigue and the lack of motivation and all that sort of stuff. So if you feel like you're really experiencing these, then there's a few things you can do. And I would always start, and maybe it's because I'm a nutritionist, but I would always start with looking at food. And secondly, maintaining a healthy weight. We know for sure that if your diet is pretty good and you're maintaining a healthy weight, that your experience of menopause generally will be way better than if you're not watching those things. We know that. And so that would be the first two things I would look at, because the menopause hormone therapy is not necessarily a magic bullet either. There are plenty of women that have ended up going through my program because they've gone on to MHT and it has not worked for them. So losing excess weight, getting a diet that is absolutely ideal for the person as an individual has way more effect than MHT for many women, certainly a lot of the women that I've worked with. Now, in terms of if you've got all of that under control and you're still really struggling with symptoms, definitely go and have a chat to your GP about what might be appropriate for you as an individual. You know, because many people are on other medications, many people have other medical conditions, and so all of that needs to be taken into account before making decisions about whether MHT is appropriate. But also, and I really stress this, you must find a GP that is trained and has an interest in menopause. I have had so many clients come to me and just say, oh, I've been asking my GP for MHT and I'm not getting it, and I've referred them to a doctor that actually has specific training in MHT and they've been able to get their hormones no problem at all. And I'll have an example, and she's one of my clients. She might be listening. I'm not going to call her out. That she had been trying for ages, she had terrible sleep problems. She doesn't have a uterus. So generally speaking, GPs, that's another thing, will say, well, you don't need progesterone if you don't have a uterus. You only need the estrogen part. And it's just simply not true. We use progesterone. We need it. It's good for our bones. It's good for our stress. It's good for our sleep. It's really, really important. So if you're struggling with symptoms and your doctor has put you on the estrogen component of MHT and hasn't looked at progesterone, is refusing even to give it to you because you don't have a uterus, then find a doctor that has actually been trained to have a discussion as to whether or not that's appropriate for you, particularly if you have a family history of osteoporosis, or if you are osteopenic, you must be on progesterone, really. So that is important. The other thing is, and I think it's something that's not really talked about enough, is the role of testosterone therapy in menopausal or perimenopausal women. And that is another discussion that your GP, if they're trained in menopause, will talk to you about. They will want to test for your levels and see if that is something that is going to be beneficial for you. So I have absolutely no problem at all with saying to my clients, I think you would benefit from having a discussion with your GP about whether or not that hormone therapy is suitable for you. As I said, my background in the pharmaceutical industry means that I'm very, very open to medicines. I think there is an absolute role for pharmaceuticals when needed, and they're a great adjunct to having the best nutrition possible for you, movement, stress management. You know what I'm going to say if you're a regular listener, because I bang on about that holistic approach all of the time. But yeah, I do strongly feel like if you're struggling with symptoms and you're on HRT and it's not working for you, and you are carrying extra weight, you're stressed, your diet isn't fantastic, then there's opportunities there for you to make changes to allow that hormone therapy to work better for you. Now, there are also, of course, herbal medicines that can work really well. Now, you've got to understand though, the herbal medicines can be great for alleviating symptoms, but they are not going to improve your bone health. So if, as I said before, if you're at risk of osteoporosis, do not muck around with that. You really need to be supporting your body with progesterone if you have issues with bones or bones in your family. But yeah, there are some really good herbal medicines that can help with menopause symptoms as well. And so that's worth exploring as well with a qualified herbal medicine practitioner, naturopath, medical herbalist. I'm all of these things. But yeah, and depending which country you're listening to me in, you may have different language as to how you describe people. But yeah, I would definitely go to a qualified person to get a prescription that's just right for you, rather than just buying random supplements off the internet, because let me tell you, they're very expensive compared to a tailored approach, and they will be far more likely to work than the ones that you're just buying off the internet. What else do I want to say about this? I think that's probably about it. I guess one other question that comes up a lot is, how do I find one of these elusive GPs that's had this training? If you're in Australia, the Australian Menopause Society has a list of doctors that have a menopause interest. I know there's an online telehealth clinic called WellFem. I'm pretty sure that's spelt WELLFEMME, I think. If you Google something like that, you will find them. They've got about a 1-month wait list, one of my clients told me the other day. So you'd want to book in fairly quickly if you're really struggling. But as I said, it's not the be all and end all if there is still other stuff going on in your body that you're not addressing. So just be aware of that. I think that's about all. If you had any other specific questions, do send them to me, hello@susiegarden.com, or on Instagram @SusieGardenWellness. I hope that's been helpful. And if you want me to do a whole episode, please let me know. The Q&A apps are usually fairly short. But I'm just, as I said, I don't feel like I'm an expert in it, so I don't really feel like I'm the person to be talking about it. But if I get enough interest in going and approaching a doctor to come and talk, then I will absolutely do that. All right, so enjoy the rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. I will see you next Tuesday with a fresh new app. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Ageless and Awesome podcast. If you liked today's episode, please make sure you click the little plus button if you're on Apple Podcasts, or the follow button if you're on Spotify, so that you get each new episode delivered to you every week. If you like free stuff, then head to the show notes and click the link to receive my free Radiant Reset Hormone Detox Guide for perimenopausal women. Or if you'd like to continue the discussion, head over to Instagram and DM me at Susie Garden Wellness. I'd love to connect with you.